Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and today we're here to answer the question that in this instance is a repeat. Is it worth it? This is One Sole Purpose. Yes, it's back. It's actually been back for a few weeks, but the developer never bothered to inform me. And after we get into this a little bit, I think you'll understand why. Now, some of you might remember that back in March I had covered this game and I was extremely disappointed in what we were presented with. It was boring, dull, and lacked a great deal of gameplay elements, let alone a story that just left you scratching your head as you tried to discern between what was actually going on, and more importantly, whether or not you actually cared. I was most definitely left in the bored out of one's mind category, and I had offered a few thoughts on how the game and its pacing might be improved. As a result of this feedback, the developer, one Sameer Hirezi, removed his game from the Steam storefront. Admitting he had rushed the title out the door, he took a great many of us by surprise by publicly stating that he was taking the game down until it was actually finished. This heartened me greatly because I had felt there was a decent game under all the issues, and I was looking forward to a much improved One Sole Purpose later this year. However, here we are barely 2 months later and the game is back up for sale. But isn't any better? Well, yes, actually it is better. They have added some ammo counters, increased visibility to the ammo pickups, crosshairs, a tutorial that will at least go over your different powers, and some additional story has been added that helps make some sense of the jumble that it was before. All of these are welcome and fantastic additions to the game. However, and it pains me to say this, it's still a terrible game. Oh, don't get me wrong, a great deal of changes have been made to the game and each one is a vast improvement, but the core and fundamental issues I had with the game during the previous review still remains. The story, while yes it does make a little more sense, is delivered in the most flat and passionless way that it was actually a bit painful to deal with. The vocoder effects that are used do not give the high-tech impression they were obviously intended to relate. All the voice effects did was strip out any remaining semblance of tone and inflection that might have been there, making every shred of the voice acting as bland as humanly possible.
Here we are. The presidential hall is in this area. I marked the location on your HUD. The city seems to be on high alert. Guards are everywhere. Someone might have breached the city.
Damn. It's Michael or Felix. They are here. Don't worry. After I get you safely to your meeting, I'll make sure to deal with them accordingly. I should have known this urgent meeting was about Michael. Alright, let's get going then.
Lead the way. And stay alert, brother.
You know it.
Lacking decent dialogue, the voice acting brought nothing positive to the game and only served to add to the overall boredom that it was subjecting me to. In addition to that, the game still suffers from making use of some nebulous timer that you, as a player, are not privy to in order for the game to transition between scenes. This leaves you stranded awkwardly with nowhere left to go and nothing to do for long drawn-out segments, which is really no fun at all. Also, the enemies did not see any improvement whatsoever. They either fall over from the touch of a light breeze or can happily bullet sponge literally hundreds of rounds of ammunition to the cranium with seemingly zero effect to be had. This makes combat a chore in the extreme, and couple that with the awkward and counterintuitive controls that cannot be rebound, and I was actually put into a position where I felt frustrated and bored at the same time. I could keep going for a while on a lot of the issues that I've found within the game, and most of those issues are still there, but suffice to say, while the game did see additional work, it still falls prey to the vast majority of the drawbacks and issues that we experienced the first time this game was posted. And I just find this to be so disappointing. The developer seemed more than willing to listen and take ideas into consideration. I had high hopes that his game would make a dramatic comeback and turn itself from something terrible into something beautiful. Unfortunately, all we got was more of the same, with a few additional scenes that were bland in the extreme, a tutorial that was more of a chore to go through than anything else, and still no explanation of the different weapon types or their damage abilities. Also, dialogue that felt like nails on a chalkboard for the mind, and long drawn-out sections of doing absolutely nothing because you had to rely on waiting for the game to decide to transition you to the next scene. As you can gather, the laundry list of issues I have with this game are long, and I'm even more frustrated to see my suggestions seemingly taken by the developer, only to have them implemented in such a way that it did literally nothing at all to improve the overall experience. It is surprising to me in the extreme that the developer would repost the game in its current state, barely 2 months after taking it down. I had assumed, based on statements made by the developer, that 6 to 7 months were needed, and even then he was most likely going to be releasing the game into early access. And I think that decision would have been fine. That would have granted him some additional income while he continued to work on the game and would have given him a great deal of positive street cred with customers for taking such a proactive action. But it appears that this project was simply too ambitious for Hirezi to take on. In a public statement made on the 16th, the developer had this to say. Hello everyone, the updated version of One Sole Purpose is live. I want to personally thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for the suggestions and constructive criticism. I took it to heart and fixed and improved a lot of the things that were pointed out, so I hope everyone will find this version of the game a lot more enjoyable. I have bad news though. Unfortunately, I cannot continue development on my game at this time. I am flat out broke and I need to go back to my engineering career so I can survive. I really wanted to try to make video game development something I could do for a living because I am really passionate about it, but as of now, I don't have any money to continue being a video game developer. I hope you all understand. There are some noted minor improvements that I have not implemented yet. I decided to go ahead and release the game because these things aren't that important to the overall gameplay experience. Below are the things that I'm still working on. I will be working on these small things on the side and patching the game periodically while I'm working at my engineering job. 1. Giving the menu an aesthetic design. That would be fantastic. Right now you can't even tell what is active in the options. 2. FOV slider. I had a problem when altering the FOV, the guns stretch on the screen when changing the FOV to above 90. I want to make sure the perspective is kept while altering the FOV, so right now I'm working on code to make sure this is possible. 3. Decreasing load times with level streaming. I've had some problems implementing level streaming within certain parts of my game. Lighting is off and some things don't work as intended. It is weird because some other levels work fine with level streaming. 4. Optimization tweaks. 5. Enlarge 4K resolution subtitles. Since I'm using the engine subtitle system and not widgets, it doesn't have the option to enlarge the subtitles relative to the screen resolution. I will figure out how to get it working eventually. Thanks for reading and thank you again for your support. I am forever grateful. Which is a shame. However, I cannot agree with Hirezi's choice to simply publish the game in its current state, as is, knowing that it is unfinished and not enjoyable. Such an action, which even coming from a person that seems to have good intentions, is extremely disingenuous and somewhat dishonest. To deliberately charge people money for a product that is, in your own words, not finished is a horrible business practice, and it has burned away nearly all of the goodwill I felt towards this developer. If he cared about his integrity and honesty but still wanted to earn some money while he continued to develop the game even in his off time, then he should have released the game into early access, not post it as a full game. What this does is tell me that Hirezi has simply given up, and while I do sympathize for his plight, it is an all too common occurrence with independent developers, but his decision to post the game as feature complete when he knows damn well that it isn't finished is not a decision that I can either agree with or support, and if he ever decides to return to video game development, it will be a decision that will tarnish his reputation for future endeavors. Now don't forget to like and share, and if you're new to the channel, the subscribe button is down there somewhere. Please do make use of it. Also, let me know what you think of this game down in the comments. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.